Hi everyone, it's the phase shift here, and this is a video concerning specifically text-based role-playing, and the topic I'm going to discuss is when you have to take a long hiatus. What do you do during this hiatus and what not to do, and then I'm going to go into 5 things that can help you to get out of that hiatus when you are ready to do so. Recently, I have had to take a long hiatus, and this is really the first such hiatus I've had to take since I got back into serious role-playing a couple of years ago. And I've definitely learnt a lot of things from this situation, and in all honesty, currently as I'm making this video, I'm not even 100% out of that hiatus yet. I am sort of on a semi-hiatus, and I'll talk about that in the recovery part of the video. But essentially, I had it's a medical reason, basically. Well, really, it was a combination of factors that resulted in this hiatus that sort of started in August, and it kind of went on and off, then became an official hiatus September-ish, and it's now the 11th November, and I'm starting to come out of it. But I'm not back to my usual activity patterns yet, even now. And this situation was altogether unexpected, and it helped me better understand when other people have to take such a long hiatus. And when I say long, I don't mean going on holiday for a week or two. I mean at least a month is what I would consider a long roleplay hiatus. And yeah, I've learned a lot from this. It's helped me to better understand when other people have to do this. And I've also just learned what to do, what not to do during this situation. And there are a few reasons why I think this is valuable to share. Because during a hiatus, assuming you're like me and you consider yourself to be a quote-unquote serious role player, it's a major hobby, you would spend at least a good couple of hours on it a week. Certainly you would try and do it daily, for example. That's what I'd consider a serious role player. It means it's a major part of your life, and part of the thing about role-playing is that it's not a solo hobby. You're doing this with other people. And if you're not engaging those other people, they are waiting on you. And so the problem is that if you have to keep people waiting for a long time, you can often feel bad for doing so. And I know I certainly did, and I still do, because there are people who've been waiting on me for more than a month. And so in order to, as you might feel pressured to do certain things during the hiatus, and so for the first part of this video is mainly to assure you that that is okay. If you need to take a break, you need to take a break. And it's okay to keep people waiting. And so, yes. So the first two things are going to be the most important things to do or not to do during the hiatus. So the first thing on here is do not force yourself, do not pressure yourself into returning prematurely before you feel ready to do so. As I said, keeping people waiting is not good, and it makes you feel bad for other people, especially if they are getting antsy or still wanting to talk to you. And another reason why I'm going to be quite honest here, I find hiatuses, whether it's myself or other people, really, really scary. Because I have had a lot of roleplay partners who have taken hiatuses, and then over the course of that hiatus, by the time they're ready to make a return, they've just lost interest. And that was through no fault of mine. I wasn't the one who kept the other waiting. They kept me waiting, and then by when they returned, sorry, I'm not interested anymore. That sucks. And so that's why I don't want to have to take a hiatus. I did not want to have to do this. I tried to keep roleplays up as I could when when the situation sort of started happening. Basically, I finally got to move out of home in September, but that process started in August, and then that was when my eyes got sore, and then my uni work piled up on top of that. Then after I moved out in September, my eyes were still sore, and it took me till October to see an eye specialist, and then late October I got some sort of diagnosis and treatment finally. So that's the situation, and then I had uni work on top of that. So it was a conglomeration of factors, unexpected factors, that contributed to this hiatus. But I tried to delay going into it as much as possible, even though I was exhausted from the moving prep and the uni work, and my eyes were driving me nuts. So, on the other end, as I said, don't pressure yourself to return prematurely, especially since hiatuses like this can be for medical reasons like this, or mental health reasons, or other compassionate reasons like drama in the family or something. You don't want to stress yourself out by feeling like you have to get back to it as soon as possible to stop people from waiting, or make sure nobody loses interest as a result of your absence. That's going to be a thing that can happen, unfortunately, but I've been surprised by how understanding everyone's been over the course of my hiatus. And yes, when I say, I'm not ready to return yet, I'm just taking it easy, good. Take care of yourself. I'm still ready for you. I'm still interested. The good partners are the ones that will maintain interest and understand even when you have to do things. If they're not able to maintain interest over the course of a hiatus like this, then they're probably not a really sustainable partner anyway, in my opinion. I think they would be the sort of partner that would lose interest inevitably, hiatus or not. The second thing is, don't pressure yourself into oversharing news or reasons for continued delays. Now, I am someone who is very comfortable talking about things like my mental health or my situation or my disability. I'm severely vision impaired, legally blind, and that contributed to my eye situation and why that was all messed up and as a result causing a hiatus. But not everyone is comfortable with that talk, because these are people online, you don't know them in real life most likely. So I understand that you might not be as comfortable talking about such things, and that's fine. So don't feel like you have to share more than you want to just to explain why you're still not active. Think about it this way. I'm a university student, and sometimes university student, if something happens, you might have to apply for an extension on an assignment. And when you apply for an extension, there'll be a list of reasons. At least in my uni, there'll be a list of reasons, and you pick the reason that best applies to your situation. When you apply for an extension, there might be medical reasons, compassionate reasons, maybe mental health. There'll be a bunch of vague categories that your reason might fall into, and the reason should just fall into one of those categories if it's truly justified for an extension. And so really all you need to say is probably something like that, like, I'm taking a mental health break, or I'm having some drama right now, or I'm sick. And hopefully people will understand if you're not comfortable going into more detail and keeping people updated on the situation and how that pertains to your return. Speaking of which, the third thing, don't pressure yourself to commit to a return date. You might want to do this. You might want to assure people that you will be back and look forward to this date. The 20th of November is when I will be back. So don't worry, you won't have long to wait. You might want to try that, but the thing is, as I said, if you're taking a long hiatus, it's usually because of an unexpected comeuppance. and so that might not be possible. You can't guarantee that your mental health will be cleared up by that date, or you're sick, you'll be better from your illness by that date, or that you'll feel up to it by that date. You really can't guarantee that unless the reason for your hiatus is something that has a deadline to it. Like if your hiatus is due to academic reasons, you might know the deadlines for your assignments and tests and things, and so you should know when your schedule will clear up a bit. But if it's not something like that, then you won't know when you'll be ready. So don't force yourself to commit to be ready and back to responding by a specific date. In a similar vein, number 4, don't pressure yourself to promise a response to someone tonight or tomorrow, because the thing is, you probably won't follow through. I've done this too many times over the course of this hiatus. One of the reasons being because of my sore eye. There were times when it felt like it was getting better, and then only for the next day to do a complete 180 and be really bad again. So I was unable to follow through when I said I'll respond tomorrow, or whatever. So in a similar vein, you might not be able to, because similarly, mental health, roleplay burnout, whatever, these things kind of might fluctuate a bit, so you really can't promise anything, and it's going to suck for both of you. You're going to feel really bad for doing this, for promising a response, then not being able to follow through, and they're probably going to be they might worry about how you're losing interest and you don't have the guts to tell them, or at least that's what I'm thinking. So try to avoid doing that if at all possible, for both your and your partner's sakes. Now, a couple of things that you should do or try and do if your situation permits. One is update your status as possible, whether this is on Wattpad or Discord, and this is mainly Discord. You have a status that you can set for your profile, and you can set it to not clear until you're ready to change it again. And so I will use that to explain my roleplay status. And so again, you might say something like on hiatus because I'm sick, or on hiatus until end of school term, or something like that. Something to explain your roleplay status, and that will keep everybody in the loop. That way you won't have to go around to every single partner and explain the situation to them, hopefully. And it will also let people in, say, roleplay advertising servers know that you're not ready to start new roleplays yet, because you're on hiatus. And the second thing, of course, I understand this might not be possible. If it's something really sudden, like you have a serious medical incident and you're stuck in hospital for days or weeks on end, that's not going to be possible. You're just going to drop off the radar. I would hope that people won't give you grief for that. I hope that assuming you're not the sort of person that would be ghosting, I certainly hope not, then people will just notice that that's unusual and assume that something happened. In a situation like that, I think the only thing you could do is see if you could ring someone up, an IRL friend, and ask them to update people on the situation, but that might not be possible. So, and similarly, depending on what the situation is, what your screen time is, it might be something else, like your internet is broken, your device is broken. It might not be possible for you to update your status then. But if it's possible for you to do so, then do so, please. I'm someone who does like to be kept up to date on situations as much as possible, but I do understand people not wanting to overshare. That's why I say I don't feel pressure to overshare. The second thing that I suggest, and I do this in general, not just when I'm on hiatus, is keep a list of all your outstanding role plays. As soon as response comes in, take a note of it, so that way none of them get forgotten. And it also shows which ones need attention the most, which ones have been outstanding the most. Presumably those will be the ones at the top of the list. In general, I do take notice of who's been waiting the longest, but I don't strictly adhere to first come, first served, because if I'm having trouble with the response button that's at the top of the list, and I strictly adhere to that order and think, well, it's not fair for me to respond to the next person until I've done this one, then it's going to be worse for everybody else, because it's going to keep everybody else on the list waiting. I don't want to do that. So it's better for everyone if I respond to what I can, when I can, but also do keep note of who has been waiting the longest, but don't stress yourself out on that again. So again, even on hiatus, take note of the responses that you get so that when you're ready to return, you don't leave anybody behind. So that's everything, I think, for when you are on a hiatus. Now I'm going to talk about 5 things that have helped me to get out of this hiatus, or to start getting out of the hiatus. So now I'm going to go into the part of the video where I'll have 5 things that can help you to get out of the hiatus once you are absolutely sure that you are ready to do so. Once again, do not pressure yourself to return prematurely. Don't do it because people are waiting. Don't do it because you want to be out by a specific date. Do it because you are actually mentally or physically ready to do so. You do not want to jeopardize your mental health or your physical health or academic situation or anything like that because of role-playing. It's a hobby. Even if you're a serious role player, as I said, it's a hobby. So again, I will just repeat this point. Do not force yourself out of a hiatus prematurely. This is what you do when you're absolutely ready that you are, absolutely sure that you are in all senses ready to return. Number 1 is don't automatically force yourself to go straight back into what you would consider your normal activity patterns. I am still not back to responding to things every day, which was kind of my norm back then. Each person might get 1 or 2 responses a week. That's not the case right now. So don't force yourself to jump straight back into your activity patterns just because you've changed your status to hiatus over roleplays back on again. You don't have to go back to your usual patterns. Do what you can, not what you feel you have to. If you have a list, don't force yourself to go down the list in order, as I said. Do what you can as you can. You don't want to stress yourself out, and it might be a bit hard to ease yourself back in. I know it's a bit hard to get my motivation back once I've been off for so long. So yeah, it can be a bit daunting looking at that big list and being like, whoa, this is out of control, whoops. And yeah, just feeling like you have to respond to all these people right now. You don't. People know you've been on hiatus, and even if they know you're coming out of it, they probably know that you've got plenty to go around to, and so for a little while, usual activity should not be assumed. Number 2 is start with shorter responses. If you've got some role plays that are shorter in response length, then start with those to, again, ease back into it. Even if you do perhaps a bit of rapid fire with those short ones, they might, again, also just help gauge how ready you are. And also, if you're worried about the quality being less than stellar going back in because you're out of it, then that will show less with the shorter responses. So easing back in with shorter responses is something I've been doing, and it's helped a lot. And also, again, because of my specific reason with my sore eye, sitting back down to a screen to bash out a really long one, which can take potentially an hour, that's a bit daunting at the moment simply because of that. Whereas short responses feel safe. I don't have to worry about that. Even as I do long ones on Google Docs so I can stop and start as needed, it still feels a bit daunting because of my eye. So short responses are the thing to do while you're getting back into it, whether it's because it is less daunting, or because you're worried about your quality not being as good since you're not in the zone proper. It might be a bit easier to start out with the shorter ones first. Again, with your status, you might want to announce this, saying only responding to short role plays, just so that the long people know that they're not forgotten, but you're not going to get back to them for a while yet. And the short people know that they'll be first on the list. Number 3 is, and this also applies during the hiatus and also coming out of it, but keep chatting with your partners. Whether it's about the roleplay or not, keep chatting with them. If you're like me, you will see these people as more than just roleplay partners, a means of entertainment. They're your friends as well. And not just chatting about the updates, like this is what my situation is in regards to the thing that caused the hiatus. Just keep chatting. One, it'll help you probably feel better, because the situation that caused the hiatus is most likely a stressful or unpleasant one. So that social contact will make you feel better. And number 2, it will help to maintain interest in the roleplay on both sides and assure your partner that you're not losing interest. Because as I said, hiatuses legitimately scare me, because I've had experiences where someone has taken a hiatus only to lose interest by the time that they have been ready to return. It's really terrible. But by discussing the roleplay, or even just maintaining contact and constant communication with that person, or not constant but regular or semi-regular, you're able to keep the interest going between both of you, so that it will still be there when you return, and they don't have to worry about you losing interest because of your hiatus and having to step back and step away from the roleplay. Number 4 is try something new, whether it's like starting a new roleplay or even making a new character. To be clear, do not replace your old partners. I'm not saying ditch them. Absolutely do not. That's terrible. That's the whole reason why hiatuses scare me. But if you feel like you can add new ones without potentially jeopardizing the sustainability of your existing role players, try adopting 1 or 2 new ones, or even work with a new character, and that might help spark a bit of interest, because it's true that new role plays have a bit of a novelty effect on them. You have a bit of a spike of interest at the start of them, that is true. And so that might help you to get back into role-playing proper, if you start with something fresh to get yourself back into it, even as you are still very much interested and invested in your older ones. I'm not someone who loses interest in role plays over time, but I happen to, not even deliberately, I just happen to have inspiration for a new character that I'm very much invested in, very motivated to use, and that has been helping me to get back into role-playing coming out of this hiatus. So that's helped me, and so a breath of fresh air might be just what you need to get back into your role-playing proper. And the last one, and again this is another thing that I sort of do even generally, is to set a goal for the responses that you would like to do, whether it's do 1 a day, or 1 long one a week and 1 long response and 3 short ones a week, or something like that. That seems manageable, but also will help you motivate to do responses. By assuming normal activity, I will try and go for a minimum of 3 responses a day, and then more if possible. But obviously, once I realised that was just not feeling like it was manageable, that was when I knew I was going to have to take a hiatus, when that was suddenly not feeling manageable. So as I said, don't force yourself to return to previous patterns, but try and do something every day, or one long response a week, or whatever you have going. Try and set some sort of a goal to help ease yourself back into it, but feel like you're going to make a dent in that list and get back to the people that have been waiting on you. And so a lot of these things are more, I consider myself at present to be on semi-hiatus because I'm only doing short responses and not back to usual activity patterns. So if people ask about my status, I'd say semi-hiatus. So that's what I meant by that. It's when you're still role-playing, but you're not back, your usual activity patterns don't apply. So those are my 5 tips, I suppose, to help you try and recover from a long roleplay hiatus. Also, it should be noted that I mainly do individual roleplays. I do not have a lot of experience with group roleplays. Some of these things might apply there, some of them won't. The first things, like not pressuring yourself to return or roleplay when you're not fit to, that should definitely apply. But some things, if you're doing just a general group roleplay where there's no turn order or anything like that, you might just have to drop out. You might just have to kill off your character or have them leave for a bit. I really don't know what the solution is there. If you're someone who does have a lot of experience with group roleplays and has some tips for handling hiatuses in those, please pop them in the comments. Anyway, this is a long video, so that about does it. Thank you for watching, listening. Please like, share and subscribe if you liked it, and leave a feedback below. This is the Phase Shift signing out.